You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Welcome back to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here again, and man, we have an awesome show lineup for y'all, just like we always do. We have the true honor talking to Christopher Loric. He is a retired U.S. Navy commander with 28 years of service. I want to say thank you for your service, sir, and including deployments with the Marines, a year in Iraq, and senior planning roles across global commands and NATO. So this guy had a full calendar, to say the least. Now, as a novelist, he draws on his deep knowledge of history, leadership, and military strategy in SESG Explorer, a gripping sci-fi tale where a U.S. fleet sent on a diplomatic mission encounters the conquering Comorians and discovers just how dangerous the galaxy can be. So if you really are into that whole creative space like me, I love music, I love arts, this is going to be the show for you. So first and foremost, I want to say to you, Christopher, thank you for taking some time talking to us today, man. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me on the program. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, with your 28 years in the Navy, including deployments with the Marines and service in Iraq, you lived through a real-world conflict and cooperation. So how did those experiences help shape your style and how you decided to go about these writing projects?
It informed a lot. I actually started working on my first novel back in the 80s when I was in the college years. Didn't finish it. Put it on the shelf, mainly because schooling became overwhelming for me, and I had to concentrate. Got my master's at that time. Then I joined the military. Been lifelong passion, but I never saw it as a full-on career, but it just continued to draw me to the next assignment. In that, learned a lot about the Navy Marine Corps team, being Navy, being assigned to the Corps twice in my career, working with the Marines, seeing military decision-making process, the way it's really deliberative. You do get the knee-jerk reactions, but military hates that. They like that deliberative thought process and control of the what we call operational tempo. Don't lose it. Be the one in control of it. And then as I progressed beyond to the joint world where I worked with the Army and the Air Force, that really informed. Plus then, to be a good military planner, you have to understand military strategy, military history, and how does it work with policy? How does the political aspect of a government impact you? And that came into really a lot of the writings of both SESG Explorer and the follow-on book, Minerva, and actually lends to the third book that I'm working on. I did futuristic, by the past. I mean, I'm bringing basically the military past, but into the future. And I'm avoiding a lot of the politics, the geopolitics of our world today by going to the future. I would write a nonfiction book if I was going to work on the geopolitics of today. And that can get me into classified arenas that I'm really avoiding. So, yeah.
You've, in your bio, I was reading up on your bio, you said you're fascinated by history of leaders, governments, and militaries. How does that study of history inform the way you wrote about politics and decision making?
So, my experience with the military and the science community that works with the military and the few diplomats and State Department people I worked with inform my characters. The political decision-making informs, the main character in the books is Admiral Brannigan, but then there's the military politician, Admiral Nabum, who oversees from Earth and the Space Force stratosphere. He's overseeing that policy and political interaction. He kind of shields Brannigan from it, which in the military, you need the right people to talk to Congress and the other cabinet members, and you need to shield your operator from the distraction, the game playing, the harmful aspects. Plus, you have to have one who knows how to get the money, the policies, the legal, and let your operator actually do the operations without being hampered by that. And it's a real partnership I saw in the military between the operator, which I'm more of a planner and operator than the politician. But I know I had that top cover of the more military politician-minded person who could interact with our legislators. And you see that a little bit in SESG Explorer at the beginning and the end with Admiral Nabon. You see it more in Minerva because Brannigan's taken into controlling the operations, whereas he was the operator in SESG Explorer, which is this one, where he goes out to meet the Comorgans. Here, he's building the fleet that they need to face the Comorgans, and Admiral Nabon is the one dealing with the politicians and the budget to get him the funds he needs. So their concentration is a little different, but they work as that team. And that's really the way our military works. If you Congress, you'll find yourself not getting the resources, the funding, or the manpower. And they have their agendas, and that affects the military massively. So you really have to have the right people talking to them. And I tried to display that in the books.
Once again, listen, Refocus Radio, watching us online, talking to Christopher Loric. The next question for you is, when you think about leadership qualities expressed in the book, do you think that, or should I say, what do you think are the most critical when it comes to leadership qualities when facing unknown, whether it's on the battlefield or if it's international relations?
Part of it is consistency. You need to be consistent in your decision making and in what you have for a vision and your orders. The people must trust that you're not chaos, but rather your order. They have to trust to be able to bring the problems to you. And even if you don't solve them, they know you will enable them to solve it. So it's really a trust that occurs. And that's found in, they have to know you. You can't be an enigma. You have to be consistent, as I said. But then you really have to deal with your own demons. I really kind of show that in Minerva. There's a conflict, and I saw it with the Navy and Marine Corps team. When you're out on a ship with the Navy and Marines, as an amphibious readiness for Marine Expeditionary Unit, the Navy and the Marine Corps can actually go at loggerheads at each other and be a real problem. So both the leadership of the Navy and the Marines have to work together as a team, and they have to destroy their own demons and have that trust between them. And then the units below them will work together in a much better fashion. I show when it's dysfunctional. I don't have that problem in SESG Explorer because everybody on that mission had already worked through that. They were hand selected for the mission, and it was a secret mission on Earth. In Minerva, it's no longer a secret. Everybody knows we're going out into deep space. So they don't have the same time or rigor to put the teams together. And when you have two leaders going loggerhead, people will die. And reality in all military, especially when you do combined or joint operations. And that's what I mean by, if you're in charge, you're not necessarily a leader if you have your own demons that you have yet to conquer. Once you do that, you can step into that leadership role. And I show in one of the battles, it's a 3-ship group called, I call it Space Action Group. It's based off of the Navy Surface Action Group, 3 ships going out. Yeah, the one in charge, which I give him the rank of Commodore, the captain of another ship is frustrated with them because he knows the orders aren't quite right. They're not actually enabling them to do supporting fires. And he's a more experienced tactical officer than the one in charge. But it's a problem that can cost lives. And now you boil down to how good are your crew members? How well trained and disciplined are them? And that's the other aspect of leadership. You have to be disciplined in yourself in order to have discipline in your crews. A lot there to pack into really a most complex question. What is a good leader?
So. Follow up on that. When you think about real life experience on missions and the weight of responsibility and how you navigate in that mission as a leader, how does that play a role in your book and storytelling as far as, man, we might hit some conflicts, but this is what the other side will look like if we actually accomplish our mission?
Wow. So cavalier attitudes are great in some training and fun, but you can't be cavalier when you're leading men and women into battle. You really have to be deliberative. Show you're in control of yourself, control the situation. You have to learn how to control time. And that's the thing. Time is a variable. And we talk about shortening time or lengthening time. You want to put it where your enemy has no time and they'll panic. If you can lengthen your time, you can stay calm and cool and make deliberative decisions. You can find that opportunity you need. And that's where that maturity and even the enlisted that are in charge of other people play into it. And I bring up cavalierism. When you're in charge of a fire team, which is a 4-man team, all the way up to 1,000 people of a battalion, or hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of people as a real commander, as in the top commander, you have to realize these are lives that you're going to lose, and you want to minimize the loss on your lives. So you can't be cavalier with somebody's life. That's serious business. But you want to make the other enemy capitulate because they're going to lose so much. And you have to have that vision of, okay, I want the battle to look like this when it's over, which is hard to see at times. We do a lot in military planning process to look at that end game. What does it need to look like? And then we put together those pieces. But you really have to be deliberative in it and control your operational tempo. That's your time. So you can find those opportunities to make the enemy make a mistake and lose more lives. It's not per se a game of attrition. It becomes that in one of the battles in the book Minerva, where it becomes attrition, where it just boils down to hand-to-hand fighting. And the leadership back in the Pentagon have a real problem with it because they're not recognizing the environment of outer space or another planet and how easy it can be for a mishap with your battle armor or your pressure suit or something, and suddenly your fighting force can't fight if their suit is compromised. They're just struggling to stay alive and saw that, and you're in combat, especially hand-to-hand. So that builds in the requirement of capabilities. How do I need to develop armor to deal with this new environment? So again, you have to pull together not only that vision, what you want, how to make the enemy lose, but what do you give your men and women in combat to not only survive, but win the fight? So it's a lot of forethought that our military leaders have to go through before they enter into conflict. And that comes, again, in my characters, you have Admiral Brannigan, who has met the Gomorrahans and met others out there, and here's what I need to meet that threat. And Admiral Nabom, being the chief of Space Force, and Space Force in my books look different than Space Force does in the U.S. military. I disagree with the structure of the Space Force in the U.S. military. They got it wrong, in my opinion. So he's saying they're going to Congress to get the money and working with industry to get the operational forces what they require to win the fight.
When you think about morale, like when we hear about building morale for the team, when crisis hits, when you are forced to troubleshoot because what you had planned goes out the window sometimes and you really just have to adjust along the way, how does that look in building morale for the team beneath the leader to make sure everyone is actually still seeing was the vision of their assignment?
So, and morale being such a tenuous thing, I mean, you can't see morale. You see the effect of morale, be it positive, good morale, or bad. Bad morale, they're running away. They're trying to escape. Good morale, they keep in the fight. They keep going forward. They keep going for the objective. So if you get knocked on your heels, how do you get your forces back off their hind feet or back off their hind heels, so to speak, and start going forward, get back on the balls of their feet? You know, it's like a boxer. They get hit so many times. You know, I'll use the fictional character Rocky Balboa. Man gets knocked down so many times by these powerhouses. How does he get back up and just keep coming forward and taking those hits? You know, he wants that win so bad. But again, it comes down to that. Does your people trust you as the sergeant or the lieutenant or the captain or colonel or captain on the Navy side to stick with their job, stay on their screens on a spaceship, or stick in your unit and continue to fight against forces that look like they're just going to tear you apart? If they trust you're going to sit there and be there with them and give them the resources, the freedom to execute when they need the freedom, but also control the battle space, you're going to be able to have that morale. If they feel like you lost control of the battle space, there's no trust. And it just becomes the man next to you, which all combat is really about the man next to you. But if that becomes the only thing, you kind of run into problems with the mass battle. I mean, small teams, that trust has to be there with the 4-man team. And they have to be willing to operate independently of anybody else. But when you're in a line of some sort, you're really trusting the battle space being controlled by your forces. You don't see a lot of that in SESG Explorer because it's the 7-ship fleet going out there to meet the Gomorrahans on a diplomatic mission. And the small teams that are leaving the ship are working together. They've been trained to do that. And they're trusting the right calls will be made when they need to evacuate or continue. And then the ships work together as like a Navy unit. So a lot of that is the morale of the people keeping at their posts doing their duties and the commanders making those calls. they're trusting the admiral will be able to deal with the whatever situation they're in. In Minerva, I give you more of the ground fighting, the hand-to-hand, where you are talking about lieutenants and captains, because you had the Marine Corps going out to fight any piracy. And when they're out away from the ship, morale will be stymied. I got one situation where a lieutenant, I think he's a second lieutenant, he's hesitating. He's not making a decision. He's stuck. He doesn't know what to do. And now that leads in the minds of the Marines questions. Can we trust him? Where's the gunny? Why isn't somebody making a decision? Are we going to die here? What? And the lieutenant colonel arrives, and he immediately becomes decisive. He comes up with a plan. They execute. Right, wrong, indifferent, they're going to execute. And now I know what to do. Now I got a leader who's going to lead us forward. And he addresses that later on in the chapter with the young officer. So,
Once again, listen, before it's ready, watching us online, talking to Christopher Loric. My last question I want to ask you is the process of getting your work published. How has that looked like for you so far? And what's some of the things that you learned in the publishing world?
Wow. Publishing it's easy to get published, but do you get published with the right group? And what do I mean? The industry has changed so much that you don't have to go with the traditional house, where you have to have a literary agent. And traditional house, you lose all control of your work. They get the copyright and all the others, and you have to pay your literary agent. I've gone with hybrid publishing, and the first one hasn't worked out as well as I had hoped. The second one's doing better. But I'm learning, and I'm learning big time. And then there's two other independent publishers who aren't associated with anyone, but they work as either a consortium or alone, and they get a group of authors, and they publish the books. And it seems like they work better as a team. I'm still trying to figure out what is the catch there. If you sign up with them, what is in their contracts you need to be aware of? And then there's the 100% I publish myself. And there's different venues of doing that, where you can get the copyright, you get the ISBN number, but then everything's on you. You know, the cover art, the papers, the binding of the books, ebooks, and how do you market that? And that part, I'm looking at the last two to say, okay, what's really the right way for me? You know, initially, hybrid is looking right for me, but now I'm moving into an area where I can expand maybe my reach by going a different route. And I'm on marketing. A lot of that is going to events, doing podcasts. Podcasts is a great way, but you also have to show up at events. And that's where you got to take in consideration your family, your obligations. Because I want to expand out from the area I'm at and go to other events in other states. I'll get my name out there more, so to speak, so people go, oh, I want to read that book, be it an ebook or a hard copy. Yeah. So, it's an interesting world.
Yeah, I lie. I have one more. So, when you look back, you had an amazing career, military, and you are in this new chapter with publishing and getting your works out and marketing yourself and being on different shows. If you had one message you would tell young people that you believe will sincerely positive impact on their later parts of their life, what would that message be to the young people?
the best way to, in my opinion, become a true adult is through service to others, be it in the military, the scientific realm, medical realm, State Department, or political realm. If your heart is to help others, to serve others, you can succeed. I think you would grow better as a person. My time in the military, if I'm not thinking about myself, I'm thinking about my other people in my unit, the nation, the republic for which I serve, the United States. We're not a democracy, we're a republic. It was about what can I do for my country, my military, my command, my unit, the people that I worked with. Not to say I was perfect then always. I had to have my reflective period of time where I shut all the doors and all the noise out. But that will only make it where when I come out, I'm working with you better than what I did before. To me, that is the achievement goal of life. To live is to be helping other people. Now, right now, I'm in a cocoon, but I'm, through my writings, I'm wanting to inspire people into doing better for their own lives than just sitting back and not doing anything, not taking that step forward. I want wisdom, so you make a right step, but sometimes it just means taking that step forward. It will start you on a journey where you'll learn where do you need to go. So that's a long form of the message I would like to get across.
That's perfect. And if someone wants to keep in touch with you, do you have a website or any social media that you're active on where people can see regular updates?
Yes, ChristopherLoric.com is my website, and you can get the books through there at your favorite online bookstore. I'm on Facebook, which is really the best way to reach out to me. I have Instagram, just got it. I'm learning it. But Facebook is the best way. My website's supposed to link to my email, but I don't trust that quite. But you can find me on Facebook at Christopher Loric.
Well, I've always want to say to you, Christopher, thank you for your time, man.